You're listening to Double Time, your daily accessible technology show. Now, here's your hosts, Stephen Scott and Shaun Priest.
Hey, Shaun Priest, happy Friday.
Happy Friday to you, sir. It's the weekend, nearly.
Yeah, it's not a weekend yet. We've got work to do, Shaun Priest, you know. We're not just sitting around here, mucking around. We've got serious stuff to get to. I have to say that legally because of...
Mr.
Yeah, exactly.
God bless you, Mr. F. This is grueling work we're doing here. It's not fun whatsoever.
Nobody's having fun here.
No, nobody enjoys this.
Listen, great to have your company again because we've got lots to talk about today. Envision have a new beta feature called Ally that is coming out. We've got Karthik Karnan joining us from Envision today. He's the CTO. Sounds amazing when you hear those titles. He's the CTO. It's like I've been watching Succession again, and I'm like, oh, as a CEO and the CFO and the COO and the C this.
Cool.
C-suite. That's a nice guy. Although there's no one nice in Succession to me. Have you watched Succession?
No, but you keep banging on about it, so I'm going to have to, just to shut you up.
Do you know what got me into it? This is so pathetic. What got me into it was I learned, first off, Brian Cox is in it, who's an amazingly wonderful Scottish actor. And then I learned they did an episode in Scotland. I was so happy.
That and World War Z, I believe.
Yes, the first 10 minutes of World War Z, the movie with Brad Pitt, filmed in Glasgow. I was there.
Yes, no need for extras. Just the zombies already supplied.
All the zombies were already available. Typical Glaswegians just stoating out of, Scottish word I used there. Wandering out of pubs at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, dazed in the sunlight, and all captured on movie.
How dare you, sir?
No, I was actually, in the filming of that, I was there, and Brad Pitt came over and he said hello to everybody and told us all to be quiet. But no, he was very nice. He was very, very pleasant to the crowds. And he shouted hello to us all.
Oh, shouted. For a second there, I thought it was a meet and greet. And he had come up and... right.
I was amongst hundreds of other adoring fans. I wasn't really an adoring fan, but I did manage to see...
You were just lost.
I tell you, I was trying to get to the Apple store, which is 2 streets away, and I just couldn't get through all these people. I only popped out here to get myself an Apple Watch strap. What's going on? And why is that refuse lorry just falling on its side?
I like that film, by the way. It was
an amazing movie. And the scene with the bin lorry, as we call them, the trash lorry, I don't know what you call them internationally, but the rubbish truck, right?
Yes.
There's a scene where it's driving up the road and it sort of hits a car and then falls over on its side. And I was there for the filming of that scene. I saw that happen. Live.
Wow. Basically, Stephen, that makes you a celebrity.
Does it?
So well done.
Does that mean I was in the film? Did I get royalties?
Yes. Apparently.
Did I get money out of that? Excellent.
Where were we going with this conversation? I've totally forgotten.
What was I saying? Oh, yeah, so Envision. Ally, yeah.
Wow.
So this is a culmination of their work, right? So we know that Envision have been all about finding ways to help us access text, but they've also been bringing in AI, and certainly last year they told us about, bringing in more personality to the app. And this is essentially what Ally has become. And I've got to say, there's a lot of personality here. We'll get into this with Karthik a bit later.
Yes.
If you want your AI to swear at you, this is the one. Actually, do you know what? There's a whole discussion just in that alone that fascinates me, because I think it does kind of... I think as disabled people, we're often infantilized a lot of the time. I've seen some great ads over the years, awareness-raising adverts, where you see disabled people who swear, and suddenly everyone goes, "Oh, you can't say that."
Such a shocker.
You're a disabled person. You can't say that word. And well, why not? Why not? What's different to me to anyone else, right? I mean, okay, if you don't like swearing, fine. If you don't like being around people who swear, that's fine. But it doesn't mean people shouldn't do it. And
let's not open up a whole new topic of discussion. We haven't got long.
I know. We've got Karthik coming on a bit later. And honestly, the conversation, it's all kicking off over on YouTube, by the way. If you've been on YouTube, the comment section, it's going to start reading like a major newspaper, I think, in a couple of weeks' time. I kind of forgot. Have you done? Well, I kind of forgot yesterday when we did the whole talk about Elon Musk. I forgot that we were on YouTube. So
well, that's it.
We were going to drag in interesting comments. I will say, though, on our videos, we do get very intelligent comments from our audience. So I think we're in the smart part of the internet, I think.
Are we? What are we doing there? Are we lost again?
I have no idea. Again, I don't know why we are there. I don't know what. There's no intelligence here. But
feel free. Have your say. Have a comment.
The listeners
disagree.
balance up the intelligence in this program. In other words, you guys have the intelligence and we don't.
Yes.
But yeah, so you can go check out the comments. And yes, you can comment. We will be working out a way to feed that comment back into the show. There's so many emails and feedback. We're drowning a little bit, so we're working on ways to do this. But of course, I guess one way is just to get to it, right?
Yes.
So we should probably do that. But
there's so many things we need to get to in this new workflow. We are, just bear with us. We are aware of stuff, and we're getting it done slowly.
Also, I can tell you, and this links into our next story, WhatsApp next week. That's all I'm going to say. WhatsApp for Double Tap next week.
Well, that's all you need to say. I think that's the entire story. Okay. WhatsApp Double Tap next week.
WhatsApp Double Tap. WhatsApp Double Tap. I like that.
We've been testing it, and it all seems...
We didn't test that. I like
hasn't
that.
Fallen over yet.
No, okay. I know, but we were having so many issues with it, but we'll tell you about that next week. Oh, goodness, I could stay here for 10 hours. Right, look, let's talk about Aira, because it does link into our next story with WhatsApp. Of course, as you will have known, you've been listening to us talking about Aira and WhatsApp. Essentially, working through the Meta Ray-Ban glasses, you can connect to an agent. You connect on your phone, and then you can transfer that call to your glasses, meaning the agent can see out the glasses of the Meta Ray-Bans. This is huge news, of course. It's been a bit of a closed... Well, was it a closed pilot? I guess it was a little bit. You had to be in on it. But they've been doing a lot of work in the background to make sure everyone's happy. Where are we at today, Shaun?
So they have announced, and they had a town hall meeting, which you can watch, by the way. They've announced that they are rolling out in beta the new Aira Meta Glasses WhatsApp integration. So you will now see the option in the Aira Explorer app. So make sure you've updated to the latest version, and you will see an option there to sign up to the Aira Meta Glasses beta. Now, they are doing this, a slow rollout. So people who were involved in the pilot scheme at first will get, first choice, first offer, as it were. But I can see this rolling out quite quickly. So if you are interested in using your Meta Ray-Bans in order to talk to Aira, an Aira agent via WhatsApp through a video call, then sign up.
Also, Aira doing great work with Remote Incident Manager. Mike Calvo, of course, has been on the show before. He's coming back on soon, because last time Mike was on, he was talking about a particular topic rather than his company, which is a story in itself. And I've got to say, the story really is that the fantastic work he's done, Mike, who's totally blind himself, has created this company which provides or sells software that allows us to remotely control our machines. Now, it could be your own machine you're working with. Maybe you have a machine at home, and when you're away, you want to be able to access it. Well, of course, we all know the challenges of using remote control software to do that. What happens when you use a screen reader? And oftentimes when you go to a big company, I remember back in the days of Log Me In, that kind of thing, it was always a little bit challenging. There was always an issue. There was always something. You'd have double speak going on because you'd have two machines running, and you'd be trying to use your keyboard on one, and then the screen reader on both machines were going.
I love inaccessible remote admin apps.
Best things
because it means that all those scam calls that I used to get saying, go to logmein.com were, pretty pointless for me. But, of course, now we've got accessible ones like RIMM.
Yeah.
But it's
but we've tried it. We did it.
We used it for the first time. First time I've ever used it. I thought, because it is a paid service, right? But I didn't have to pay anything, and you helped me out, and it was fantastic.
Well, I've got an account anyway, right? Because I have an account for my MacBook, so I can have my MacBook downstairs, and I can still access my Mac Mini upstairs. And it's simply, I pay for one target, as they call it. You pay for a number of targets. There's different plans for different reasons, and business has different plans and all that. But individually, you can have like a plan. So I have it set so I have access to my Mac Mini from whatever machine I'm on. And it's brilliant because I just go and I choose the machine. I can instantly log in. And then essentially the control is now over to that machine, and I can use VoiceOver on it. And it honestly just feels like I'm just sitting in front of that machine. No issues at all. And even if I was connecting to a PC, the same thing would happen, as I did, because when I connected to you, and you don't have to pay for that because you're receiving support. So you just go into the receive support option, and then I provide support option. And then we choose, I think we just choose a keyword. I could never understand that bit at first, but you pick a keyword. I just give you a word.
Yeah,
and that's then you type that word and I type it in, and that's it. We're connected.
We were connected, and it was totally verbose in what was happening. It was so accessible, as you would expect.
You were aware of what was going on. I was aware of it. Equally, if you didn't have a screen reader, if I was connecting to, say, my dad's computer, I've done this with him. I mean, so he had an issue with his Mac. He has an iMac, and he had an issue with it. And I said, look, to download this software, I'll log in, and I'll take care of it. And he was unaware that I was using the screen reader to do it. But I was able to get in, get it fixed, done. The only thing he said to me was, the mouse hasn't moved yet. What are you doing? How are you doing that? My dad doesn't get it. I try.
Yes,
but
of course.
And I think if you don't use screen readers, you don't get it, But it's amazing, isn't it? I love that stuff.
Absolutely.
Love it.
Yeah.
So, but this is an incredible piece of software. Now, the thing with Aira is they now have involved this, because when you were contacting Aira before, you were often having to use TeamViewer or Quick Assist, which has always been a bit flaky at the best of times.
So annoying. Sorry, I know I'm going off on a tangent.
Brilliant piece of software, but it just doesn't work so well. Well, we've had issues with it.
Excuse. Yeah, no, it's terrible, to be honest. From an accessibility point of view, for hearing the other computer's audio, it just doesn't do it.
Yeah.
Sorry, it just annoys me, Quick Assist.
So, yes. Anyway, we should actually dig into this a bit more, though. I'm going to talk to Mike at some point. We're going to get him on. I've been in contact with him, and he is going to come on soon. He's desperate to come back on, and we want to get him back to talk about this, because it is just a fantastic story in itself. Because what I love about it is it's a product which is available to any business. This is not just a blind product. But the point is, it works for blind people too. And that's the best bit of the story. So, if you have someone who you work with or a company you work with, I would say encourage them to use this software, because it is going to be accessible to you as well. I can't think of the number of times in my last job where I could have really used that piece of software when you were trying to connect to, especially servers and things like that, where, narrator is the basic, and there's going to be no chance of getting a decent screen reader onto them. I know people who use computers today who are, struggling to access remote machines because, they can't put certain softwares on them, and, therefore they have issues and all that. So, being able to access easily and unattended at times as well is a really cool thing. But anyway, we'll talk about that another time. Honestly, I'm on a roll today. I'm on a roll. I know, so many things. It's funny, right? I'm kind of joking off the top of the show. This isn't fun. I'm having the best time of my life. What are you talking about? I love this. Okay, look, let's get to some emails. And I want to kick off with a replay of an email we got recently. This was from Graham, who got in touch with us because he had an issue and he wanted to ask our audience if they had a solution.
Hi guys, I have a problem which has been bugging me for a long time. I want a new talking alarm clock for the bedroom, but every one I've got from the CNIB or Amazon has a volume far too loud, even when the volume switch is set to low. I would like to have the volume set almost as low as a whisper, so when I hit the button to hear the time during the night, I don't wake up my wife. I would appreciate any suggestions. Thanks, Graham Langford in Toronto, Ontario.
So Graham sent in that message, and as expected, our wonderful audience delivered. But not only that, it goes further than that, Shaun Priest.
Oh, tell me more.
It isn't just like a response. We get a demonstration now. And also, we get something very unusual to us here in the UK. We get the chance to spend some time with a doctor.
Hello, this is Dr. Clock from Talking Workshop. I've been asked to give some advice on rotary volume controls. There's two top button clocks that have rotary volume controls. The VTC-03, which is by us, and it's a USB or battery operated clock at $24.99, and then we have the TC-100 on clearance that is currently $16.99. We'll let you hear the TC-100 first. This is full volume.
The time is 8:42 a.m.
And low volume.
The date is September 18, Wednesday.
And now we'll listen to the VCT-03.
It's 8:42 a.m.
And low volume, which is virtually nothing.
It's Wednesday, 18th September.
That's not going to wake anybody up in the night. The VTC-03 has 8 daily alarms and 4 different alarm sounds from sirens to birdsong. We have 2 offers on currently. Buy any verbalized talking watch and you'll get the TC-100 free. Buy any verbalized talking clock and get 25% off any verbalized talking watch. For more information, give us a call on 0345 00 40 100 or go to the website talkingworkshop.co.uk. Take care and bye for now.
Thank you, Dr. Clock. We have Dr. Clock on. I'm so excited. Dr. Clock.
It's amazing. We have a medical man on board with amazing advice. Now, of course, there's going to be one burning question here. Is this UK only?
Well, the fact that he responded to Dr. Clock, I should say, Dr. Clock responded, suggests to me they will sell abroad. Now, speaking, of course, on behalf of Dr. Clock here, but, the fact is that Graham is clearly in Canada, so, I imagine it will be not impossible for him to either find that locally, now you know what you're looking for, Graham, or to get that from that shop in the UK. We'll put all the details of that company on our show notes as well, plus the phone number that was mentioned as well. So check out the show notes on the podcast or on YouTube to get access to the information. Just a quick note on that. A lot of you are asking me where you find this information regarding podcasts. Some of you going to the AMI website for that. I would recommend you visit doubletaponair.com for the show notes for podcast, or you can find those show notes in the podcast app as well. Sometimes you have to go to more information, or you maybe have to open up what do they call it? The sheets you have to open up.
There's usually a mini player. I mean, I'm talking about the Apple Podcasts thing there. There's usually a mini player at the bottom. Open that up, and then sometimes you can just double tap on the image, the show image, episode image, and it will spin around, and there's your show notes. But I haven't used it in a long time, to be honest.
And of course, it depends on which app you're using and all of that.
Which platform,
And YouTube as well. You can get more information, and you can get the show notes in there as well. So we'll put all the information up there. But thank you so much to Dr. Clock. That's really interesting, actually. I've heard of these verbalized talking watches. You know me, I'm always intrigued by these.
Have you? Yeah. Honestly, it seems to be a thing in our community that some people are so into the talking watches. I just never have been really. But, I mean, there's definitely a market there. And that first one at low volume, I don't know.
I know.
It's funny, though, right? In the middle of the night, something that seems silent during daytime can seem so loud in the middle of the night. But that second one at low volume, I think that would be absolutely perfect.
I just think it's great people know about these things. So
no, absolutely.
If you're a company or you're selling these products, you'll come and tell us about it. That's the joy of Double Tap. You can just come on here and talk about it and tell us what you're up to. I must admit, I like the idea of getting something for free, so I'm quite keen on buying the verbalized talking. I was kind of keen on the talking watch anyway, and I'm like, I get the clock as well? Okay, now you're talking. Literally,
that's
now you're talking.
marketing for you. I'm getting it for free.
You can have now you're talking, by the way. You can have that as a thing. Because that makes sense, right?
Yes. Okay.
I love how we're workshopping companies' marketing. We don't market our own show, but we'll market everybody else. Thank you, Dr. Clock. Right, let's get to James, who wants to talk about Braille.
Hello, Steven, Shaun and Laura. I've just finished listening to your Braille discussion on Friday's show, 23rd of August. I contributed to the Braille discussion in the past by saying that while Braille is extremely important to me personally and professionally, it is not, I repeat, not, the only means of literacy for blind and partially sighted people. I am extremely fortunate that Access to Work was able to provide me with a Braille display for use in my current job and accessibility. I could not afford it on my own. I use it all day in work to compose and proofread documents and to check code. I use it in my personal life too for reading books, labelling items, and I'm learning to read music, a fascinating but utterly mind-bending experience. But Braille is not the reason I have this job, nor the reason I'm able to keep it. It is, without doubt, extremely useful and a nice bonus, but in fact, touch typing, knowledge of screen reading technologies and operating systems have been more advantageous in my experience. If I were a professional musician, mathematician, or worked in programming or the sciences, then Braille would play a much more significant role in my working life. Based entirely on my own experience, though, I don't believe knowledge or use of Braille is necessary to gain employment. Only 2 of us in the team use Braille displays. Teaching Braille is extremely important, and unfortunately I can count on one hand the number of teachers of the blind I've met in my life. Yet, the mountain that today's and tomorrow's generation of blind and partially sighted children will need to climb is bigger, in some ways, than perhaps it's ever been. It's no longer enough to know Braille or a single screen reader. While unified English Braille has streamlined the Braille learning process somewhat, knowledge of multiple screen readers and operating systems across myriad devices seems to be required. But learning these things is compounded by having to learn them in tandem. You don't teach JAWS, NVDA, VoiceOver, TalkBack, or even Orca, not to mention the command line offerings, in isolation. They are learned alongside learning the operating system. How much more difficult must it be for someone who is learning this stuff having lost their vision? I have a friend who has experienced this, and while they remember how the screen is laid out, the representation provided by the screen reader does not seem to match their recollection. Then there are all the keystrokes and gestures and the changes that operating systems make. Takes a breath. I find this fascinating, presenting to organisations who have never or rarely encountered a blind screen reader user and hearing how difficult some of them find it to follow what I'm doing because a window is not where they think it should be. JAWS gives me the information I need. I have no concept of where the window is and had never thought to consider its on-screen position until my friend made me aware that position can be important when someone is using a screen. I could go on, but I'll end by saying thank you to Laura for reading this and to you, Steven, and you, Shaun, for facilitating such an important topic. I look forward to hearing your views and those of other listeners. Warmest wishes, James.
James, I really appreciate that email, and I've got to say, I think it's important we do have this conversation. I feel I've been talking to a few people, actually, interestingly, people who are in many ways outwardly facing, very much advocating for Braille and will continue to do so, and rightly so, in my view. But even some people who may publicly talk about the value and the importance of Braille will privately say, yes, but we do need to have an honest conversation. We need to have an honest conversation about the future. And I think there's probably no better time, considering this is the 200th anniversary, since Louis Braille was around, and essentially the 200th anniversary of Braille, as far as we're concerned, celebrating him, but also celebrating the legacy. And the question is, what is that legacy? And it seems to me that the gap is starting to widen between the cost of devices and the resources to train children to learn Braille. And if that starts to increase, if that gap gets wider, then Braille has no future. And that's not to say Braille doesn't have a future. That's me saying we need to discuss how to resolve those issues, because I agree that Braille is important. I agree Braille is part of literacy. I don't think it's all literacy. In fact, I would make the argument, and I have made the argument before, that there are people I have met over the years who now say, and did not say for a long time, that if you learned grade 2 Braille, if you were using contractions, you were probably less literate than someone who even used grade 1.
Yeah.
Because essentially it teaches your shorthand, which then makes you question, again, you have to really think about how that word is spelled, because you don't spell it that way on Braille. So actually, does it contribute to literacy? These are important questions that need to be asked. And I think, just so you're aware, we're going to be doing some special programming about this, especially considering it's the 200th anniversary. I think this makes a lot of sense to do this. We're going to do some special programming around this topic. And I'm going to be getting out and about a little bit and speaking to people. There's a fantastic conference coming up. We're going to learn about it soon, but you'll maybe have heard about it. Sight and Sound Technology in the UK are holding a big Braille event in November. And I'm going to go along, and I want to listen to people. I want to have conversations with people there and really get into this a little bit, because I think it's a fascinating topic, and I think we do need to have an honest discussion about the future to safeguard it.
Why does it make everyone so nervous just having this discussion? I mean, I asked that question, but I know the answer is because it's almost, we don't want it to become a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Mm-hmm.
The audio, we can manage without it. Okay, so you don't need, the learning resources then. The reason that they were declined in the first place, and then me and you, Steven, have both said, this is an outrage. They should be more available to more people.
Yeah.
It's such a difficult line to tread, really. But you're right. I mean, it doesn't mean we shouldn't discuss it.
The challenge is we have to decide for ourselves what the right path is. This is the problem when you have people who are so fixed and entrenched in their view that there is only one answer to this. That yes, Braille must exist, and therefore Braille is literacy. And if you don't have Braille, you're not literate. Those people, I'm not listening to them. With the greatest respect, I'm not listening to them, because I know what their views are. I understand their views. I'm willing to change my mind on anything when new information occurs. And if it comes to the point where I'm learning Braille and I'm having a great time and I'm finding the value in it, but then I'm falling away from it And then I'm realizing others are too. And we know that, I mean, whatever the stats are, wherever you live, it seems the number of Braille people actually using Braille, it's 7% or less. It seems fairly, worldwide. That seems to be the number that seems to float around. It's around 7%. That's a tiny number of a very tiny number. So,
and how long is it now that we've been flirting with Braille? I'll put it in that way. I mean, years.
Well, I think it's different for us. I think I kind of take myself out of it a little bit because, well, look, I mean, for us, we have grown up without it. I'm in my 40s. I'm not in a position where I'm ever going to get to the stage of being able to read the way someone can who was a child who learned it at school or even in their teens. I'm just not there. So I'm maybe not the best person to sort of come to and say directly my direct opinion on this. That's not really useful in this. Because if I went by that opinion, I'd say, forget it, there's no point. But of course, there are loads of people who do value Braille, who do need it, as we just heard in that email from James. People who are in education, people who are going into mathematics.
I can't imagine
science.
Coding. Yeah. Just purely using a screen reader. I mean, the amount of code I used to go through looking for a missing semicolon is absolutely immense, and Braille would be so useful for that, I can imagine.
Anyway, we could talk all day, as you know, but we will move on because we have a fantastic guest waiting for us. Karthik Karnan joins us in just a moment. He is here to talk all about Envision Ally. Keep in touch in all the usual ways. Here's how to do that.
Call the Double Tappers now, 1-877-803-4567, or email us, feedback@doubletaponair.com.
Okay, let's talk about Envision because it's a company that has been around for a while, and I have to say, in a lot of ways, are the cutting edge when it comes to really cool AI technology and using, I think, technology that is out there right now that's been available for a while to its most useful, Shaun.
Oh yes, there's no doubt. Envision are the granddaddies of accessible wearables, aren't they? I mean, you could argue Aira came out with Horizon, but it didn't really last. And the Envision glasses were really the first ones to bring a standalone device with the Google glasses with their software.
Yeah, and Aira were a different ballgame, right? They were doing different things.
Of course.
I know Aira had AI in the name, but it kind of moved away from AI, interestingly. Anyway, let's get one of those granddaddies online. I don't know if that's a great way to start the interview, Shaun. Karthik Karnan's with us from Envision. Are you happy to be a granddaddy? Are you a granddaddy? Have you left yet?
Well, I've just stepped out to get my dentures on.
I'm so sorry. I meant a granddaddy of tech, of course.
Yeah, no, I mean, you meant like grand space daddy. It's not like granddaddy. Yeah, so that's a title I'm okay to take on. But we've been around. We've been really stuck on this wearables idea, right? I mean, we started off in 2017 as an app, on a smartphone. But even the earliest designs of Envision, basically, we were just like two 20-year-old kids who just assumed that you could, walk into a factory in Shanghai and say, "Can you make this hardware for me?" And they would do it, and then we'll sell it, and then all of a sudden everyone's wearing. So I mean, we had a design that looked very, very similar to the AirPods of today, and that was our assumption. That we would be able to walk into a Chinese factory and then ask them to build this thing with all the processors and AI processors and cameras and speakers built into this little AirPod style device, and they would just do it for us. And of course, we realized that the world works differently. Reality is a little bit more boring.
Hang on, Karthik, that's not going to happen. Yes. Sorry, no, we'll need to rethink that one. And you're right. I mean, look, this is the challenge is, of course, the technology, and we've talked about this before, right?
Yeah.
There's so many great ideas, but technology is kind of hampering some of that. I mean, I'm wearing the Meta Ray-Bans right now. I know you've been blogging about them and talking about them as well, and they're brilliant. But of course, they do have their limitations. One being battery, for example, and processing power and all of that.
Yeah.
Look, before we get into all this, because wearables is obviously an area that we're fascinated in at the moment, but I want to start with you and talking about Envision Ally, because that's the big headline feature at the minute that I see you guys talking about. So what is Ally from Envision?
Sure. So Ally is our way of reimagining all of what Envision's been doing, right? So Ally, to put it very simply, is a very easy to use conversational personal assistant that you could be having on any platform that you care to use today. right? Traditionally, the way we have used software is you open an app has buttons, and then you press these buttons, you learn how the app is structured, and you learn this button goes here, this button does that, and then all of a sudden, an overzealous designer comes around and changes everything once every 6 months, and you have to, learn the whole thing again, right? But the
Yeah.
way we see software evolve is changed. And because of AI and because of all the stuff that's happened over the last like 2 years, we can now take away all of that complexity and then put a very neat snappy conversational interface that revolves around all the functionalities and capabilities of the software, right? That's what we're doing with Ally. So Ally at its heart is still Envision. So you would still be able to read documents with it. You'll still be able to read all kinds of text. You'll be able to detect objects. You'll be able to recognize faces. You'll be able to do all of these things. But then instead of you having to learn, how the Envision app works and what button to press to get what, you just talk to it, right? You just talk to your ally. Your ally has a personality. So it's not this boring, AI bot that, some big corporation decides you should be having and then you have it. You can basically, ask it to, I don't know, throw an expletive or two anytime you want to, right? You can have it, you can modify its personality, and it also learns a thing or two about you as you keep using it, right? And you can say, hey, I'm someone who's vegan, or I'm someone who likes to play this, or I'm someone who likes to go out for walks. And you can just keep talking to it, and then it just builds a memory of you over time, right? And then you can just go ahead and have you're sitting at a restaurant scanning a menu. It just tells you, hey, you know what? I think you're trying to go ahead and cut back on sugar. So maybe you should, not have the desserts, right? Or maybe you're vegan.
Oh,
right?
great. So it's like my wife then, right?
Yeah,
Okay. Thank you.
exactly.
Excellent.
I mean, it is a little bit like that. You could even like, give it a very girlfriendish personality. That's like, no judgments here, So
Hang on, Karthik. Hang on.
Yeah,
Hang on.
steady
That's
on.
a different ball game, right? Do you pay extra for that?
Where do I sign up?
where do I sign? There's already a beta, available, so people could sign up for it as well. We'll talk about it in the end, but essentially that's what Ally is. It's and the good thing about Ally is it's not just stuck to your phone. It's not just stuck to your iOS device. It's not just stuck to your Android device. You can use Ally on iOS, Android, the web as well. It's available as a Chrome extension that you can install on your browsers. So let's say you are running on a website, and then all of a sudden you see images on the website that are not properly alt text labeled, right? Ally would do that for you, right? Let's say you're coming across a form and it's kind of inaccessible and it's kind of annoying to fill forms out nowadays. You could basically ask Ally to fill out the web form for you and submit it for you, right? It can go ahead, fill out the form, it can confirm the details with you, and then just go ahead and submit it on your behalf, right? So these are things that Ally can do for you as well on the web. And Ally is also going to be available on the Envision glasses. If in the future we work with more wearable partners, we're going to make Ally available on those as well.
Okay, so many questions here. And I'm glad you mentioned filling out forms, because in one of the promotional videos I saw someone say, scan this receipt, and then later on ask them to use the details in that receipt to fill out a form. I was wondering how they did that, how the multi-platform aspect worked, but you seem to have explained that. Basically, you've got a Ally account that you sign into no matter what the platform is, and it still remembers your profile and your previous conversations. Is that right?
Exactly. So you could basically very securely, feed Ally some, sensitive bits of information like, oh, this is my ID card, or this is like my passport information, or this is a receipt that I scanned, on my phone, right? And Ally would store them securely for you. And when you ask for it later on or want to refer to it, you can just simply say, hey, can you like pull up the receipt, from my lunch that I had today, right? Or can you like fill up this form, and then, I give you permission to like also put in my passport information or ID information or whatever, right? And then just fills out the form for you and stuff. So yes, it is capable of remembering things when you ask it to explicitly remember things for you. So it just doesn't store any junk that you talk to over the course of this one in its memory. You ask for it explicitly to remember something, and then you ask for it to, like read it out back to
Recall that.
Recall that.
So if I scan a receipt, for example, using Ally on my smartphone, I can then, when I'm filling out a form on a website, let's say, I could recall that information there and it would fill it out. Now, that is actually a really cool And I'm sure lots of people would love that. You mentioned inaccessible forms, and just filling out forms in general as a screen reader user can be real hard work. But the trouble is, we've been burnt by AI promises before in the past. Can this do this right now? Is this something, this function that I watched, is it capable of doing that right now?
Yes, so everything that you saw in the Ally video is real. And, we actually shot the video on a live demo of someone using it as well, right? And this is actually a feature, that we are currently private, testing right now. And it will be made available to all Ally users like when they sign up for a public beta.
This is a culmination of your work.
Yeah.
Sort of moving from what is Envision as an app and does have the buttons and does have the app and does have all the structure that you talk about, moving that into something like this where everything moves to that style. Is that where we're going here?
Exactly. So the main idea with Ally is that it's extremely easy to use. You can ask it for things and it will help you out with it if it's capable of doing that. And Ally is extremely also personal, and it also has different tools that it can use. Like the form filling thing is just one of the tools that an Ally is capable of. And Ally can also help you, for example, manage your calendar. Right. So you don't have to use the calendar app. I don't know if it's entirely accessible or not, or how annoying of a task it is. But even for someone who's sighted, just managing your calendar, that becomes a problem. And just being able to have Ally access information from your calendar is something that it can do. So essentially what we're doing is we're saying all the capabilities that Envision has, like being able to read text or being able to describe a scene or being able to recognize a face, we're just taking all of that and then just putting it behind this little, friendly, face, a friendly ally. And then all you have to do is just talk to it, and then it will tell you, hey, okay, probably you're trying to read a menu. So let me just pull up our scan text functionality and then scan the document for you before you can ask it a question, right? So those are things that Ally would do. It is a culmination of our work. It's also a belief that we have at Envision that software fundamentally is going to change in the future. This whole idea that has been existed for like 30, 40 years of computing, where you have buttons and menus and layers of menus, that is going to be abstracted away in a much more easy to use interface that is able to understand what you're trying to say in natural language,
Let's hear it in action.
Hi, my name is Jesse, and today I'm going to show you how my personal AI assistant helps me throughout my day. My personal AI assistant, called Ally, runs on my smartphone, on the web, and on my Envision glasses. It knows about my schedule, my preferences, and it also knows about my surroundings. So let's begin. Hey Ally, should I wear a jacket today?
No jacket needed, Jesse. It's 23 degrees in The Hague. Good luck with your lunch meeting.
When is a train to Amsterdam leaving, and from what platform?
Envision is answering your question. A train to Amsterdam is leaving at 12:36 from platform 6.
So, what are you up to? Shall we order some food?
Yeah, let's maybe...
Do you have a recommendation for a salad?
All right, Jesse, since you aim for a healthy diet and you're lactose intolerant, I'd recommend the gegrilde Groenten salad. It's got grilled veggies like cauliflower, zucchini, and beetroot with sweet potato and hummus, plus it's vegan. You won't have to worry about any dairy sneaking in there.
Okay, I got this. Remember this receipt for me. Hey Ally, can you recall the receipt that I took a picture of earlier today and fill in this form?
Left parenthesis. Heading level 1. Reimbursement and invoice submission. Email and photo. Jesse Winterholz. Lunch at a restaurant with a client and spent €43.25. The 29th of July 2024.
Yeah, that sounds good. What's my gym routine for today?
The day you find out if you're really dedicated or just enjoy torturing yourself. Better buckle up, Jesse. Tomorrow walking might just be an extreme sport.
Leg day again.
I mean, that sounds great, and I love the personalities in there and all of that. I mean, it's just so good, and I think that whole personalization thing that we talked about before, Karthik, when you were last on with us, it's going to be groundbreaking for blind people to just talk to their devices and get meaningful responses and get actions out of it as well. The question I have, though, is you mentioned earlier about providing personal information. How safe is this? How secure is our data with Envision and this service?
Sure. I think we have a lot of experience in that field, in that space, because one, we are a company that's based out of Europe, and Europe is known for its regulations at this point. We have and we are fully GDPR compliant as a company, right? So we do take data privacy quite seriously, and we also are a EU medical device, like the Envision glasses is EU medical device registered, which basically also means that we have to meet a lot of very high safety standards for data and like managing data and things like that. So I am, I as an end user can be extremely confident that Envision is not really going to sell my data to some third party, or it's not going to go ahead and use my data to like sell me ads or any such thing. We don't do any of that at all. We don't intend to do it as well. The main reason why we anonymously store user information from consenting users is to basically improve our models that we have done over the course of the years, right? So that's the only thing. And then when the data is used to train models, we basically train the latest model and then get done with the data that was used to train the model, because we don't need that data anymore per se. Right. And the way we also store information in the backend is fully encrypted. And we try to store only information that's truly, truly necessary for us to store and stuff. Yeah.
Well, you mentioned the back end there. So what service are you using, if any, if it's not your own? Are you using to power the AI aspect? What's behind it?
It's a mix of a lot of things, right? It's a mix of what we have built over the years as to what we do best, and then it's a mix and then use third-party services wherever required. If I have to give you the example, for example, of our scan text functionality, right? Now, scan text in the glasses has like a whole flow to it. So when a user activates the mode to scan text with the scan a document with the Envision glasses, what happens first is that the glasses guide you on how to move the document before you can fully capture it, right? That is something that nobody else in the world has done at this point. So Envision had to build its own technology to do that, because we know how to do that best, right? And then actually scanning the document is done through like a commercial API, or like a proprietary API, because those guys, like the folks of the Microsofts and Amazons and Googles, they've got all the chops in the world to build like the best possible OCR API, right? So we just piggyback on that. And the next step in that process is trying to understand the layout of the document. So today's commercial APIs, no matter like how pricey you get, you make them, they're not very good at understanding the layout of a document. If you're trying to read book columns, if you're trying to read a magazine article or a table, you can't just, if you run that through like these OCR APIs, they just spit out the text from left to right without any, adherence to the layout of the document. So Envision had to step in and really build our own technology in that space, which is where the real value addition is, right? So we really go there and we say, okay, let's build an AI that's able to understand headings and columns and tables and figures and charts and images, right? And so that we're able to extract those elements and then properly read them out the right way it's meant to be read out. So if you're using the Envision glasses and you're on the 2024 pass, you will be able to now also read tables along with images and charts as well, right? So Envision is capable of doing that, and that is where we do our own technology. So it's a mix of things. As you can see, we use third-party stuff wherever needed and build our own technology wherever it's needed.
But in the terms of privacy, like you mentioned, if we go back to the example of using your, maybe I've got a picture of my passport to fill in some form. If it stays with you, you've put forward your privacy terms there. But does it ever get sent out to something like OpenAI or Gemini or another AI service? And then what happens to that from there?
No, so I think in terms of just being able to store images and save images that we are doing, it's all happening within Envision's own loop, right? So we don't essentially take them out and then use it with a third party and stuff. And even when we do use it with a third party, we always ensure that we are on some kind of an enterprise setup with them, right? And when you're on, for example, a developer or an enterprise setup with OpenAI, for example, they don't store information that is being sent to their servers for training anyway, right? So they explicitly mention this in their contracts that they don't do that. So we try and use those tiers as much as possible, so that if there's sensitive information that we are that we want to have these additional third-party AI services like process for us, we're always trying to do that within the space of like okay, can we make this or can we ensure that this data is not stored in any way, again just to comply with GDPR and other European data laws.
I've spoken to people who are currently on the beta for Ally. And I've got to say, the biggest thing that people tell me about, apart from the features, is as you mentioned earlier, you've took all the safety rails off this thing. It seems like you can get it to swear at you if you want. What made you go down that route? Don't get me wrong, people seem to be loving it, but what made it the right way for you?
I just think I think we always believe in giving people the ability to choose these guardrails for themselves, right? Of course, if someone were to ask, it to how do I make a bomb or something, it's not going to give you that answer, right? But what's the harm in letting it say, the F word, right? If that's how people express themselves in the real world, and that's how they want their allies to express themselves. Why not do it? And it does make it kind of more easy to interact with, and you feel less that you're talking to an actual machine and more that you're talking to almost like a person or a friend of sorts, right? Which is why we also picked the name Ally. We didn't want to go with assistant, or we didn't want to use any of those other terms. So yes, the idea is to just give people the ability to just, customize their ally as much as they want. And if they wanted to throw an F-bomb here and there, it's totally okay. Should be totally fine. And we shouldn't overtly censor these models.
No, I'm with you. But do you think that actually opens it up to be more helpful, to give better answers when you take away those guide rails there?
Definitely. I think, if you're able to build an ally for yourself that you feel comfortable talking to, that you feel like, hey, these responses are a bit more, I would say natural sounding, then I feel like it just makes it easier to interact with it, right? It makes it, I'm kind of loath to say the word more human, but it is what it is, right? I think you feel a bit more like, hey, I'm just talking to like, and the thing that we noticed is a lot of times people get very conscious when they're talking to an AI, right? When they're talking to a Siri, because usually they're kind of the feedback that Siri gives you is, oh, I'm not able to understand what you're saying, like as if the problem is on you, right? But if we try and make the AI a bit more personal, a bit more, like friendlier, then, people have less barriers in talking to it, is what we realized during the beta.
Okay, there's an anxiety in talking to an AI because sometimes you feel you're so busy thinking about what you're supposed to say in order to get the result you want that you're not really having a conversation. You're just trying to form a coherent sentence, and your brain is kind of overloading and maxing out at 100%, or at least mine is. But I want to talk a little bit about wearables, because obviously that market is booming at the moment in so many different directions. And, we're coming up to the Meta Connect event. We're looking forward to that on the 25th. And a lot of us in the blind community are quite excited about it because, yes, I know they're going to announce some new VR headset. I don't care about that. I'm more interested in what I'm wearing right now, which is these Meta Ray-Bans and where it's all going. And, I think Shaun and I are sitting here every day doing this show and, feeling there's huge potential in these types of products that are coming out. And I just wonder, from your perspective, because you have written a lot about the Meta Ray-Bans recently, is a partnership possible between you guys?
Ooh, never say never. I'm just gonna say that. Never say never. Stay tuned for the Connect event. Yeah, that's all I can say right now. But broadly speaking, I'm very, very excited about wearables. I'm very excited about the Envision glasses in its current form, because there is just so much more that we can still do with these classes, which is the reason why we're still actively putting them out, putting out updates and improving on it, because there's just so much room to do that. At the same time, we're seeing that the space is starting to open up. Of course, Ray-Ban Meta is one of them. The main problem that we see with these wearables that are coming out today is that they're not open for developers yet. Because of that, there is very, very limited capability that you can use these glasses for. Even if you're blind or low vision, most of the people that I've seen kind of like use the Meta AI, and then they get like brief descriptions or descriptions that are not helpful. Another reason why we need to have like AI that's not overtly censored is because, again, if a blind or low vision person asks Meta AI to describe how another human looks like or who this person is, or even reading documents, right? It refuses to read documents that has names and numbers on it. It's not really built with accessibility in mind. So as more wearables come out and as they can actually open up to developers like Envision, we can make full use of what the capability of those devices are. And so I'm excited for it from that perspective. But I still think there is some way to go before these wearables can kind of match up to what we have today in terms of the Envision glasses hardware itself, right? And what I love about the hardware is it's so open that developers like us can take it and then just put our own software on it and then instantly make it usable for a blind or low vision person. Whereas with these new wearables that are coming out, they're cheap, they're great, they look quite good. And if you asked me from 3 years ago, if I was sitting on the show and looking at what you're wearing, I'd say, okay, that's a normal pair of Ray-Bans, right? But we know that's not. And so it's great, but I still think it has some way to go. And yeah, I mean, I'm personally very, very excited for the Meta Connect event this year. Very excited.
With the Envision app running on a smartphone and then being connected to some sort of wearable with a camera, no matter what it may be, Meta, Celeste, Ergo, no matter what it is, the power of the smartphone is probably more than you would find in a standalone wearable that you could fit in a wearable solution. So are you, I mean, it just seems like, of course, look, Envision on the Google Glass, the thing that everyone talks about is the price. The price point is, it's got to be, it's a considered purchase. So if you could bring that down and bring in, the subscription model for the software, because as you mentioned with Ally running on any platform, it's the software that you're running there that makes the difference. That's the real power behind it. I'm wondering if that's where you're looking for in the future, rather than, more people that could subscribe to a service rather than people being almost limited by the price of the hardware.
Oh, that's so true. And I think we've over the years, yes, we have made considerable effort to bring down the cost of the glasses from what it was to what it is right now. But you're right, it is a considered purchase, and we have looked at options. For example, there are like wearables out there where you can connect the glasses itself to a phone and then have the phone do the processing for you and then just give you the result back onto the glasses, right? We've experimented a lot with those type of glasses over the years. And believe me, we would have switched to those kind of models if it was more affordable, but still reliable enough, right? The problem again with those kind of glasses is that operating systems like Android and iOS are quite closed. And contrary to popular belief, they're becoming more and more closed every year. The reason for that is, as more people use phones, a lot of hackers and people like that tend to target smartphones now more than they do desktops and all those things, right? So, they do have considerable risk in opening up their operating system to be used, by a third-party service like that. So there is very limited support from these companies for these third-party wearables where you just take a pair of glasses, connect them to a phone, and then do all the processing there, right? Unless, of course, Apple or Google comes out with their own version of glasses tomorrow, and then they allow you to securely talk between the phone and the camera and the glasses. And from just having spoken to the folks at Google very closely, there's nothing like that in the works right now that is capable of doing that. Right, at least not the ones have informed us of so far. So I think it's a bit of a dilemma. Yes, we do want to try and bring down the price point as much as possible on these glasses, but at the same time, having explored the possibility of connected wearables, it's still quite some time away. Especially like on Android, these type of devices only work with a limited range of phones. Like if you buy one of those connected wearable glasses where you connect it to a wire through your phone, one, it'll only work on Android. it'll not work on iOS, or it's super unreliable on iOS. And two, when it does work on Android, they say, oh, you have to buy like the latest Pixel device, or you need to buy like a Samsung Galaxy S24 or whatever, right? So you're dropping another $1,000, just trying to buy one of these new devices that can connect to these, to these wearables. So it's a yeah, I would say we're in an adolescence phase, right? The smart glasses industry, 5 years ago, it was in its infancy, and then the whole adolescence phase started with like the Google Glass coming out again, and then more and more people are coming. Meta's right now there, so we're in the late teens, right now, and I'm sure another couple of years down the line, we'd start to see this maturing a bit more. Yeah.
Yeah.
Envision Ally is in beta, public beta.
Yeah.
When are we seeing that launch, do you think? And do you imagine that will have a subscription model?
Yes, it will have a subscription model of sorts. To be honest, we have to really finalize on those things, right? Right now, we're just focused on building the best possible experience. It's going to be in a public beta for a while. We just want to have as many people using the beta as possible, as many people putting the Ally through its paces, and also for us to kind of have a conversation with the community at large and understand from them, hey, what are the features that really matter to you, right? Like, how can we, we just I think the filling up the forms is one thing, right? Like, what are things like that? What are problems like that the Ally can actually help you with, that you think are problems that you encounter throughout all the devices you use. So we really will do a little bit more of like having these conversations. And when we feel the time is right, we'll kind of launch this to the wider world as well. So yeah, it's going to be in public beta for a while. And so anyone who installs the app today basically can go ahead and try it out, give us feedback, and we'll do more of these in the coming weeks. And hopefully, as we go into the new year, we should be able to see this available for everyone to use.
Karthik, it's been wonderful talking to you as always. Come back soon and tell us more about what's going on. It's such an interesting area.
It is.
We will watch all of this with interest, and we look forward to hearing more, because this just sounds fantastic. I love this. So thank you for coming on, Karthik.
Yeah, thank you so much. And anyone who wants to try out the Ally beta can just go to ally.me. That's ALLY.me, and then just sign up for a beta, and then we'll go ahead and we're letting people in. We're not doing the whole waitlisting thing, creating this whole huge waitlist and trying to keep this thing in mystery. No, the whole point is to just get people to use it. Of course, we just want to make sure that we're not giving it away to bad actors. So you can just fill up the form and then just let us know. And then we also have a Slack where we talk, community where we talk a lot with each other. And love to know what you all think.
Oh, I want to be on there, because I've never been in a Slack community.
Nor me.
I want to be in I've been Slack in my work,
yes,
but not in a community.
Yeah,
that sounds good.
Yeah, that's
Karthik Karnan, thanks for coming on.
Thanks so much. Thank you so much.
And that's it. We are back again on Monday. We have some great conversations coming up next week, Shaun. We're going to be learning all about JAWS and their next big thing. We've got Ryan Jones and Matt Aita joining us from Vespero. We'll also get a bit of a sneak peek into the new public beta that is out of JAWS 2025. It's just arrived. I'm tempted to upgrade.
Do it.
Anyway, yeah, I should, shouldn't I? Because I use the Mac all the time, so who cares? So I'll do that. And also, Good Maps. We're going to be talking to Neil Barnfather from Good Maps to learn all about the work they're doing to make indoor mapping a reality for blind people. And you'd be amazed at the amount of places it already exists. So there's an app you'll be downloading next week. If that doesn't become App of the Week, I don't know what does. Anyway, in the meantime, have a great weekend, Shaun. I'll catch you on Monday.
You too. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.